Hello, welcome to this Photoshop tutorial. Today I'm going to be showing you some basic pen tools and vector techniques. Now admittedly this is not the most exciting of tutorials and we're not really going to be producing anything you're going to want to hang on your wall just yet, but I do plan to get you familiar with the pen and vector tools, which are really useful when it comes to producing much more exciting things. And I'm going to be using these tools in several following tutorials. So if you aren't already used to working with vectors, then this one's for you. I want you to start by opening a new window, make it about 750 pixels square. Then I want you to go over to the tools palette and select the pen tool, which is this one here. You'll notice some options at the top of the screen here. I want you to make sure that the shape layers and pen tool are both selected. Now make one single click somewhere in the middle of your window. This will create a new layer for the shape you're about to draw. Now move your cursor a couple of centimeters away from the first point. Make a second single click. Then do the same, move around a little bit and make a third click, and you'll see there's each of those points are joined up by a straight line. Then if you move the cursor back to the first point, you'll notice that the cursor pen tool changes slightly and you get a little circle next to the pen tool, and that indicates that if you click you'll make the shape solid with no gaps around it, will be complete. So you've made your first shape. Now I want you to create a second shape by doing again another single click somewhere in your window. This time when you make your second click I want you to hold and drag, and you'll notice two handles appear. The amount you drag these handles in the direction determines the radius of the curve you're creating. So we'll drag it somewhere like this and then release. Before we make our third click you'll notice the curve continues to the third point, and we'll go back to the first point now, which will complete the shape. The third shape I'm going to ask you to create is something halfway between the first two. So I want you to make your first click up here. That will create our new layer for our third shape. Then when we make our second click I want you to hold down the Option key, which will let us create just one handle rather than the two symmetrical handles in the second shape. We'll drag it somewhere over here before making our third click over here, and then back to the first point to complete the shape. And you'll notice that we haven't got the first part of the curve that emanates from the first point here, so we've just got one curved edge. Now the best thing about vectors is that you can edit them after you've made them, so if you make any mistakes you can always go back and tweak them until they're perfect. And so now I want you to go over to the tools palette and click the path tool, path selection tool here, and we'll use this to select the second shape we made, the one that had the complete curve. You might need to click on it twice, and you can tell when the path is selected because you'll get a little black square where each of the points are on the curve. So now if we go back over to the tools palette and we click on the pen tool and hold and go back right down at the bottom to the convert points tool, and this tool will convert this second point which was creating the curve, and we can convert it back to being a normal point, or if we click and drag on it it will bring out the two handles again so we can edit the radius of the curve, and this will edit the curve symmetrically. The two handles will be identical on each side and at 180 degrees apart, so you're creating a symmetrical curve. If we release and we go back to one of these handles we can move them independently from one another, and so we can create points like this, or even lengthen each one of the handles, so you've got a very different curve on each side of the point. And then again if you want to reset that you click one single click back on the point. You can also even move the points on a curve. If we go over to the tools palette again, click on the path selection tool, hold down and select the direct select tool. Now the difference between those two tools is that the direct select tool will allow you to select one point at a time, so we can move it around. We can also select several points by clicking and dragging over the points like this. You can even add more points or delete points that you don't want. If we go over to the pen tool, click and hold, and go down to add anchor point tool, and if you click anywhere on the edge of the shape, you'll be able to add a new point. So we'll add a couple here, and then we can even delete any we don't want, like that one. And then we can of course edit all these points in the same way. We can move them around, we can turn them from curves to points, or mess around with them like this. There we go, beautiful shape there. You'll have noticed that each of the shapes appear on a separate layer, but it is possible to put them all on the same layer in order to make them interact and to create more complex shapes. So if we grab the path selection tool, select one of our shapes here, cut it, make sure that the layer option is selected when the dialog box pops up, click OK, select one of the remaining shapes, hit paste, and it will have put the first shape on the same layer as the second one. I'm going to do the same again with the last shape to put them all on the same layer. And now we can make them overlap like so. We can now use one of the options at the top of the screen to either add, subtract, or exclude the overlapping shapes. By default they'll be adding to each other, so they combine to make one big shape, but we can take them away from each other like that, so this third shape is subtracted from the other two, or we can have them intersect or exclude from each other like that. And that's pretty much it. Like I said, we've not produced anything particularly pretty, but I'll be showing you how to use these tools to create graphics like these in a few future tutorials.